in one single year a few years back, and it just by doing this. What's shakin'? Welcome back to All In. I'm your host, Rick Jordan, and today you get me and all me. And before we start, because this is going to be such an amazing episode today, we're going to talk about how to grow your business and how there's only 3 ways to really grow your business. Before we dive into that, I'm going to ask you to do one thing. We're talking about 3 ways to scale your business today. I want to ask you to share this out with at least 3 people, because that's the only way that we grow and can help more people, just like this is helping you today too. We don't promote much of anything. We don't take sponsors on the show at all. The only way we can help more people and impact more people in this world is with your help. I am asking for your help right now to share this with 3 people. All right, I'm going to give you the 3 ways today. The only 3 ways to scale your business. You could be at various stages of your entrepreneurial career right now. You know, one may be, hey, I got this idea. How do I start this? And we'll talk about how that applies to the 3 ways. You might be in the middle of it right now to where you're growing, right? You've got a little bit of momentum going and you're like, oh man, how do I get past this next hump? I've talked about before the rule of 1s and 3s in business and how those are different plateaus and milestones financially in revenue, 100,000, 300,000, 1 million, 3 million, 10 million, 30 million, 100 million, so on. And those are the milestones that you reach. And what got you to that point will not get you to that next milestone. So that applies to the 3 ways to scale a business too. Or the last person that might be listening, maybe you've even sold at this point. You've exited. You've gotten to the point to where you're like, hey, this is as far as I can take my business right now. I'm out. And that's a good place to be too, because there's nothing like sitting back in your chair. Imagine this, sitting back in your chair. You just got a huge payday for what you've built over the years, but you might be thinking, man, it was time to get out for a number of reasons, whatever your reason was. But some of you might be thinking, man, if only I would have known this, I could have grown it a little bit bigger and gotten even more value for my exit than what I did. If only I had this knowledge or whatever it was to take it just a few more steps. We're going to talk about that today. The only 3 ways to scale your business. Ready? The first one, and this applies most definitely to startups, but it applies across the board too, because there's this thing that we talk about in business called the cost of acquisition. I'm not talking buying another company. That's what I'm doing right now, which is one way to fulfill this. But the first way is more customers. It's probably the most obvious way. And we're going to go from the most obvious to the least obvious. The first way to scale your business of the only 3 ways is more customers. And this means getting down to it, guys. When I started my managed service provider, my MSP, the only thing that I focused on was gaining more customers. Period. That's it. Because I knew that more customers equaled more revenue. It's quite that simple, right? I needed to acquire more customers. I did a lot of different things to try to do that. I would go door to door. I would establish relationships. And then another way that I would do it is simply ask for the referral. We still do this today. You need to be doing that. Don't be ashamed to do that with your customer base that you have. If you create such an awesome experience with a customer to where they're just wowed by you and reach out, we like to say that we create holy shit moments. That's right, because we love our customers. And this happened actually out of an experience with the customer where we just wowed them so much that they just came back on a meeting and they're like, holy shit. As soon as they saw the results and the outcome of it, like, this is why we exist right here, this moment right now, to hear you say that, right? When you create those moments, that's the time to be asking for more referrals. That right then and there, be like, hey, wasn't this an awesome day today? Wasn't this an awesome experience? Did I deliver? Did I deliver? Right? Say it whatever way comes natural to you in your own voice. And then ask, hey, you know what? Do you know somebody else that I could help too? Very similar to even at the beginning of the show. Remember how I asked you to share this out with 3 people? What do you think that is? Because I want to impact more people, right? So do you. That's the reality of it. So do you, because you want to increase your revenue. And I have to believe that most who are listening, that's you that are listening, want to be able to serve people and help people too, because the more people that you're able to serve, the more money that comes, right? The canvas outside my office says serve first. That's all that it says. Why? Because the money will follow. The first way to scale your business out of the only 3 ways is more customers. You could do door knocks, you could do walking door to door, hand out some flyers, whatever it is that you're going to do. And we'll get into social media ads and all that stuff more often, because that kind of applies a little bit more on, right? Because that acquisition cost when you're starting out, especially if you're starting where I did not take on capital. I did not take investors. So I literally had no dollars. Nothing when I started. And there's ways to do that. But the biggest way is to land a customer, because that customer can then provide more referrals to you. And then when you move up in your revenue amount, when you can actually afford to put dollars towards social media marketing or direct response marketing, then you start to do that, because I did that too. After I got to a certain point, right? As soon as I was generating for myself like a regular paycheck of around $60K a year. I know that was cheap. That was stupid cheap, right? Stupid low, not making much money, but making $60,000 a year, like annually for my business when I first started 11 years ago. Then I started being like, okay, now I want to put some money into marketing, because I'm going to reinvest some of this rather than taking more out, reinvest some more into my business in order to do this first thing, this number one way of scaling your business, which is more customers, customer acquisition. All right. The second way out of the only 3 ways to scale your business, to grow your business, is to spend more. You get your customers to spend more, right? So that might be offering something brand new. And I've done this time and time and time again in my field, because cybersecurity, believe it or not, was not that big of a deal a decade ago. But still, I would find different ways to offer new services, new value I would add. And when you add more value, the only way to justify a higher price is to add more value. So then I would go back to my existing customer base. My existing customer base that I already had, and said, hey, we're offering this new service. Do you feel this would be of value to you? And most of the time they would say yes, because I already had that trusted relationship. I already created those holy shit moments for them, so where they would pretty much say yes to anything that I would say. Never, ever hold back when you have an awesome new idea that will bring legitimate value to your customer base, your existing customer base, to get them to spend more to obtain that value. Now you've just increased your revenue and you're scaling your business without having to market outside and gain more customers. That number one. And offering new services that they actually needed. Go figure. You just actually provided something that they need and that they feel is of value to them because of what you're doing for them. And then they spend more. The number 2 way. And this could also be done with upsells. You know, if you're in a business where you have packaging and pricing and you have different tiers, you could always do that and always try to bump them up. You know, in my business, I fully believe in just one plan. That's it, because it's just how it is in IT, right? I know the right way to get the job done, and I'm not going to offer them some crappy lower plan that doesn't give the value that I know they're going to need, because they're going to be knocking on my door and hating my guts when something goes wrong because I sold them my bottom tier plan. I don't do that. In this, it's like it's Apple. Do you want a MacBook? You want a MacBook, right? Do you want an iPhone or an iPhone? There might be some different levels of iPhone depending on what cameras they want and everything, but basically, most of the iPhones do the same freaking thing, right? They're only appealing to people that want to pay different prices, but Apple is still, for the most part, delivering the same experience on all of their iPhones. It just looks a little different from iPhone to iPhone. And they have ways to get you to spend more too. It's freaking phenomenal, right? AirPods, you know, all these ancillary services, these accessories. What can you add that you're not doing right now for your customer base? And it might even be something that's outside the box. It's outside of your space, right? I've thought about this before. A cybersecurity company, right? I'm not an insurance carrier or I'm not an internet service provider, but what did I do? We started selling insurance services and internet service to our clients through brokers, and we get a commission for that. Our customers were spending that money anyways, and all I did was take that revenue away from one company to another company that will pay me for selling that service. It was the simplest thing in the world. It was awesome. So there's things that you can think of that are outside of the box and outside of your exact niche and competency and skill sets in order to allow this number two way of having your customers spend more to help you scale your business. All right, that was the number 1 and 2 ways. This is rapid fire today. You ready for number 3? The last one, number 3, is to get your customers to buy more often, right? And this means, in my business, what we do is we have customer engagement rhythms, which means that there are set meetings, monthly, weekly, semi-monthly, for different purposes to have touch points with the client base. But these touch points are really identifying pain points, constant pain points, in order to create sales opportunities to add more value and also make more revenue. This is how you scale a business. The number 3 way is to get your customers to buy more often. So what kind of rhythms can you put in place in your business to have those touch points? It could be a drip email sequence. It could be something that you learned to where they just don't have the single transaction. Then you don't talk to them for a year. This is one of the ways to get them to buy more often. Say, hey, I noticed that, I sell these 50 different products, right? You could be a CBD company. I have 50 different CBD offerings, but you only bought 2 of them. Did you think about this one too? That could help by just sending them an email and getting them to buy more often, or running a sale, or whatever it is. But that's the 3rd way, is to get them to buy more often. For my business, it's customer engagement rhythms that my team has with our existing customer base in order to present those opportunities on a regular, predictable basis, where the math always happens and they always say yes because they're just waiting for more value. That's so important to grasp on, is that your customers are always looking to be provided more value, even when they don't tell you. So when you present it in front of them, that puts you in such an amazing light with them, and they feel cared for. They feel like you have their best interests in mind, because you are now bringing them something else. This is great. You're bringing them something else to buy. They want to buy what they need. Probably when you first sign them on, and this is actually important for sales, you want to sell a customer what they want, and then you ease them into, over time, what they actually need, because it's a much more difficult conversation of ethical persuasion in sales to try to sell them what you know that they need when they don't know that they need it. But they do know most of the time what they want. And that's that bridge and that meeting point. And then over time, to get them to do this number 3 of buying more often, is to continuously present them with more opportunities, more frequent opportunities to buy more. That's it. There's no more ways, people. There's only 3 ways to scale your business, only 3 ways to grow your business. 1, more customers. 2, get them to spend more when they do buy. And 3, get them to buy more often. Awesome. Have an amazing freaking day.